For this episode of Behind the Adventure, I'm here with the crew that shot the Orca piece in New Zealand. I'm Anna Marie.
I'm Bradford Schmidt.
I'm Taylor Turner.
So the inspiration for this piece came when we were pitching for the Hero 4 launch reel, and Orca came to mind. We wanted to shoot with wild orca in nature. And the first person that we found was Dr. Ingrid Visser. And she's the preeminent orca scientist for the last 20 years. And she lives in New Zealand. And when we researched her online, we actually found she was already shooting with GoPro. Obviously, underwater was a huge feature in this shoot. We were mounting GoPros to the weights on your weight belt. We would just zip tie them to there and we'd swim them down and put them near the schools of fish at the bottom where the seaweed was. And then we would back away, and then the fish, you know, when they're not intimidated by a human being next to them, would swim right up to the camera, and that's how you get all those really close-up, unique shots from the bottom of the seafloor.
While we were in New Zealand, we didn't get all the shots that we wanted to get, mainly the orca shots. So luckily we were there for 2.5 weeks, and we were able to train her on how to use the cameras, what settings to use, that sort of thing. 2 weeks later, she called us, and she's like, I got the orca shots. An entanglement had happened, and she recorded the whole thing on her 6 or 7 GoPros.
One of the most unique shots in this story is actually from the perspective of one of the orca. Andy Casagrande, who is a National Geographic and BBC videographer, underwater cameraman, he was kind enough to lend us this fin cam. Ingrid scientifically wanted to know what happened to the orca after they were rescued from something like an entanglement. Before she got the rope, she fixed this fin cam on, and the coolest part about the fin cam is how it's also recovered and how it attaches.
So essentially, this is a spring-loaded device. You just slide onto the dorsal fin of the orca. Once the orca was cut free, it swam off. This was on its fin. And then over time, it's got a little link in here that'll dissolve and then release the springs, so it just floats to the surface. Once it does that, this little VHF transmitter pokes out of the water, and you can ping it with a radio receiver, and you can lock down on its location, recover the footage. You've got orca POV.
Swing around, yep. Excellent. Woohoo! And it's still recording. Wow!
One of the coolest features for the Hero 4 is the Nightlapse feature, which is really unique to our camera and unique to the Hero 4. And the coolest part about it is we've always wanted to get those shots of stars at night. And the ability to open up the camera's sensor and let it expose for a really long period of time. The gods are angry at your great time lapse!
By the power of Zeus!
We're really inspired by moving night lapses. So we had used a Kessler slider with a large extension to do that move that pushes through the root ball. This particular shot was on a 30-second exposure with a ISO at 800.
Scripps was nice enough to loan us a pair of sweet jet boots, which are essentially what Navy SEALs use. They're like torpedoes that you strap to your thighs. And you got a nice little dial on the side, and when you're underwater, you can crank that thing full blast, and you can cruise along at like 7 knots. It's really incredible.
The cool part was we would take these Norbert frames and we would put 3 cameras in, so you'd have one in 4K, you'd have one in 2.7K medium, usually that one was with an LCD screen, so you could really frame the shot correctly, and then the other one underneath would be in photo every 0.5 second mode.
So one of my personal favorite shots in the piece was a drone shot we did through the tunnel, which I shot. And it required this tiny time window we had in the morning. We had to coordinate the sun rising through this fiery tunnel. We only had like a 10-minute window to do this. And we had to coordinate 2 boats to go through it simultaneously while I was hanging on the tower of Steve's boat with Brad holding me and just bear hug, holding me so I don't fly off, trying to fly the drone, shoot the gap through this tiny little tunnel and follow Ingrid's boat without giving both of them a buzz cut. It was glorious. So for most of those drone shots, we were shooting in 4K. However, we also shot a lot of it in 2.7K 48. For that, it allows you to slow it down if you need to, and it also allows you to shoot in a medium frame, which is really nice. It punches in a little bit more, crops out the rotors.
It makes the subject feel just a little bit closer to the camera.
Yeah, gets rid of the fisheye as well.
Let's go again. FinCam outro. Take 27.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this behind-the-scenes look at the Orca story. This is the end of the Life in 4K adventure series. It is not the end of GoPro adventures and productions. Though, stay tuned.
That was so close. I think we just go with that one.